Welcome back to Trader UK, the money management channel. Today I'm taking a look at how I would be investing if I was a teenager right now, which surprisingly is quite different to how I'm actually investing right now. I'll explain where I'd be putting my money if I were under 18 years old, my thinking behind this, and I'll reveal the exact stocks that I would be picking. Before we do get going today, if you can smash the like button for me, it really helps out with the channel, and of course if you do enjoy today's video, then you can subscribe for more similar content. Now, if you are under 18 years old and you want to start investing in the stock market, you normally need to be looking at custodial accounts. These are accounts that are opened by your parents or your guardians. They're in their name, they have ultimate control, but you are provided with full access. And once you've done that, you should be able to trade and invest as anybody else would. The only difference tends to be that, of course, you don't have access to any complex products. There's no leverage. But other than that, for simple buying and holding, it's perfectly sufficient. Now, the reason I'm saying these investments are suitable for teenagers is because I'm looking with a 10-year outlook, and I'm also looking for an investment portfolio that doesn't need any active management, which is completely different to how I currently invest. I tend to be looking forward with a 2 to 3 year outlook with my stock picks at the moment, and I like to monitor my portfolio daily, which I love to do, but I know that if I were a teenager and maybe I was studying, that would really distract me from what I was doing. So the idea with this portfolio is that you can invest your money and then leave it to grow. So you don't necessarily need to be a teenager for this, but in my opinion, you would need to be holding these positions for a good stretch of time and letting the changing consumer trends take its toll. So to build a portfolio that you can buy and then leave for 10 years isn't actually as easy as a lot of people think. Most people just look at the 10 biggest companies that we have now and expect that those 10 companies will be the 10 biggest companies we have in 10 years' time, just a whole lot bigger. Well, if we look back 10 years ago, ExxonMobil was one of the biggest companies in the world, market cap over $400 billion at one point. Now it's half that. So when you're going to take a back seat with your portfolio, you need to be a little bit careful with your picks. That's why today we're only going to be looking at ETFs. Investing in ETFs is the equivalent of investing in lots of companies at the same time, and the risk is relatively low compared to investing in an individual company. The ETF tends to track either an index or the most influential companies in a particular industry. So when a company stops being influential in its industry, the ETF tends to stop investing in it. This means that your investments are constantly being adjusted on your behalf. Now, because we've chosen ETFs rather than individual stocks, all we need to do is choose indexes or industries that show good potential for long-term growth. So the first industry that I believe shows great potential for long-term growth is, of course, electric vehicles. So on screen, I found a nice little ETF here from iShares. The ticker symbol is ECAR, and this is their electric vehicles and driving technology ETF. The aim of this fund is to capture the EV movement directly by holding the automakers, but also component makers and other related suppliers within the portfolio. This way it doesn't matter too much if Tesla takes a tumble, for example, or maybe a new player takes their lead, because the ETF would automatically adjust for that. Of course, you can go and find other ETFs tracking the industry in a similar way to this one, but I do like the iShares products. The second industry that I believe shows good long-term growth potential is clean, renewable energy. Now, this industry isn't anything new, but there does seem to be some renewed emphasis on clean energy at the moment, not to mention our growing population and developing population as well. So I found a nice ETF again from iShares. Ticker symbol on this one is INRG. And it's a global clean energy ETF, which tracks 30 of the world's largest clean energy companies. Next up, we have the Vanguard S&P 500 tracker, ticker symbol VUSD. Personally, I think this ETF should make up part of everybody's portfolios. This one won't actually track a specific industry, but the S&P 500 index. In fact, this is what Warren Buffett believes new investors should be doing, so of course we'll take his advice here. The S&P 500 historically has always provided strong growth, and I don't see why that would change anytime soon. So I would add in the S&P 500 tracker from Vanguard. The fourth industry I like the long-term shift towards is robotics. So here on screen we have iShares again, automation and robotics ETF. It seems like every single company out there is trying to automate their processes or use artificial intelligence as part of their process. So this will track that industry nicely, and you actually end up holding Qualcomm, Nvidia and Apple all via this ETF. And the fifth and final industry here is a simple one, but if you take a look at the past performance of this ETF, it shows it's an effective one. This is iShares Global Water ETF. Ticker symbol is IH20, very clever. There is a lot of money to be made in water. Just ask China's new richest man. This is another industry set for continued long-term growth, another one that will be affected by our booming population and the developing economies that we have. This ETF will track the most influential companies operating in water and water-related industries. Our demand for water is just going to continue to grow, unfortunately, so I think this ETF will perform very well. So those are the 5 industries or 5 ETFs that I would be investing in if I were a teenager right now. I do hold small positions in each of these ETFs, and I think they're set for good long-term growth. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.